left in the dust smoke filled the air. The ground shook with every blast. Soldiers ran across the broken battlefield shouting commands in different alien tongues. Among them was a young alien girl, Rivka, her skin pale blue, her wings torn and dragging behind her. She had once flown high over the clouds. Now she could barely walk. She lay near a burning transport ship, half covered in ash and dust. Her eyes were open but blank. Blood trickled from a cut above her eyebrow. Around her, footsteps rushed by. Her own people. "She's useless," someone yelled in her language. "No time. Leave her," shouted another. One soldier paused. He looked down at her, then turned and kept running. She was not dead, but they left her like she was. Rivka couldn't move. Pain shot through her legs. Her wings, once her pride, were nothing now, useless, heavy. She coughed, choking on the smoke. Her hand weakly reached out. But no one saw, or maybe they just didn't care. The battlefield emptied. Quiet returned, broken only by small fires crackling nearby. Then, a sound. Footsteps. But not heavy boots like her people. These were softer, slower, careful. She turned her head slightly and saw him. A human. He wore dark armor with a cracked helmet. His face was dirty, and blood dripped from his shoulder. Yet his eyes were calm, alert. He looked at her, not with hate, not with fear, but something else. He walked closer. Rivka tried to move again. Her heart raced. She had heard stories. Humans were monsters, killers, predators. Was this her end? But then the human did something strange. He kneeled. "Hey, you alive?" he said, voice low, careful. She blinked. He took off his helmet. His face looked young, tired eyes. A deep scar ran along his cheek. He reached into a pouch and pulled out a water bottle. Rivka flinched. He paused. "I won't hurt you," he said slowly. "Here, drink." She stared at the bottle, then, with trembling hands, took it. The water tasted like life. She coughed, drank more, then looked at him again. "Why?" she whispered. The human smiled, just a little. "Because you're still breathing." He looked at her wings. "You can't walk?" She shook her head. He glanced around. Explosions rumbled in the distance. "No time," he muttered. Then, without asking, he picked her up. Rivka gasped. Wait, why are you—" "Shh," he said. "We'll talk later." She was in his arms now, carried like something precious. They moved through the wreckage. Ash fell like snow. He kept low, dodging fallen beams and broken machines. Rivka couldn't believe it. He was risking his life. For her. "Who are you?" she asked. "Eli," he replied. "Corporal Eli Grant, Earth Forces." "You know I'm your enemy?" she whispered. "Don't care." She was silent for a long time. The warmth of his chest was strange. Not just from heat, but from something else. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safety. They reached an old supply shack, half buried, mostly forgotten. Eli kicked the door open and stepped inside. It was dark and smelled like oil and rust. He laid her down gently on a soft pile of blankets he found. He sat beside her, pulled out a small scanner, and checked her vitals. He frowned. "You're lucky," he said. "Broken wing bones, leg fracture. Not bleeding out, though." "Lucky?" she scoffed. "You're still alive, aren't you?" She looked at him again. There was no hate, no anger, just calm. "I don't understand humans," she whispered. Eli chuckled. "We confuse everyone, even ourselves." She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them. "My name is Rivka." "Nice to meet you, Rivka." A loud boom echoed in the distance. Eli checked his weapon. "They'll be searching soon. We'll move again after you rest." "You're not leaving me?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not my style." Rivka turned her face away. A tear rolled down her cheek. Quiet, slow, full of pain she hadn't let out until now. They had left her behind like garbage. But this human... He stayed, carrying the enemy. The night had no stars, only smoke, fire, and fear. Eli tightened the straps on his gear and looked at Rivka. She lay on a makeshift bed of scrap cloth and old tarp inside the supply shack. Her body still trembled, even though he had wrapped her in an emergency blanket. Her pale blue skin had bruises. Her wings, once proud and graceful, hung useless behind her. He had no reason to care, but still he stayed. Outside, drones buzzed low. War machines scanned the ruins. Alien squads were hunting anything that moved, especially humans. And yet here Eli was, carrying one of them. He stepped to the door, peeked out, then turned back to Rivka. "Time to move." "I can't walk," she said softly. "I know." Without hesitation, he knelt and lifted her into his arms again. "You're insane," she whispered. "They'll kill you for this." "Probably," Eli muttered. "But I've done dumber things." Rivka didn't argue. She was too tired. Her head rested against his shoulder, her eyes half closed. She could feel the steady beat of his heart, strong and calm. Strange, how comforting it was. He stepped outside into darkness. The ruins stretched like a graveyard. Bodies, machines, broken walls, everything was covered in dust. The ground was uneven, but Eli moved with care. Every step was slow and silent. Then came the voice, metallic and loud. "Human presence detected." Eli froze. A recon drone hovered above the street ahead, scanning with a red beam. He slipped behind a fallen wall, pressing Rivka against him, to keep her safe and hidden. The beam passed over them, paused, then moved on. They waited. 10 seconds. 30. 1 full minute. Only then did Eli move again. Rivka whispered, "Why do this? I was your enemy." "You were," Eli replied. "Now you're not." "That simple?" "War is never simple. People are." They reached a deeper part of the ruins, old metal pipes and collapsed buildings. Eli found a cracked door, pushed. It opened with his boot and entered a shadowy tunnel that led underground. Inside it was damp and quiet. He set Rivka down against a wall and caught his breath. "You're heavier than you look," he said with a tired grin. "I'm full of regrets?" She replied, almost smiling. Eli chuckled. Then her smile faded. "I wasn't always a soldier. I used to fly in sky parades. Children would cheer. I loved it." "What happened?" "I disobeyed a command. They said I was weak, a traitor." Her voice shook. "My punishment was pain and silence." Eli leaned back, looking at the dark ceiling. "Humans have a word for that. Betrayal. It stings, doesn't go away easy." She looked at him. "And you? Why are you out here alone?" "I was part of a team. They're gone now. I guess I didn't want to leave anyone else behind." A moment passed. "You stayed?" she said. He nodded. "I did. Even when I might slow you down." He didn't answer with words. Instead, he reached into his bag and pulled out an old protein bar. He broke it in half and handed her a piece. "Eat. We move again in an hour." Rivka took it slowly. It tasted like cardboard, but it was food. Real food. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then came the distant sound of marching boots. Eli snapped to his feet and grabbed his weapon. "They're coming." "Go," Rivka said. "You can escape through the tunnels. I'll stay." He gave her a sharp look. "No. You don't understand. If they find you with me." I said no. He pulled her up again, gently but firmly. "I didn't carry you this far to give up now." As they moved deeper into the tunnels, Rivka whispered something he didn't expect. "Thank you." Eli didn't reply, but he tightened his grip and kept going. Shelter from the storm. The rain began with a hiss. Light drops first, then a steady roar that washed over the broken city like a curtain of cold sorrow. Eli's boots splashed in ankle-deep water as he pushed forward, his arms wrapped tightly around Rivka. Her skin was freezing, her breath shallow. The emergency blanket he had wrapped her in was soaked through. He moved fast, but not careless. They were being hunted. The storm gave them cover, but it also made the world more dangerous. Drones could lose visual contact, but thermal scans still worked. The sound of water masked footsteps, but made it easier to step on traps or sharp scrap. Rivka shivered in his arms, her voice barely a whisper. "You'll freeze." Eli kept walking. "We'll find shelter." "I'm slowing you down." "You've said that 3 times now." "Because it's true," she mumbled. Eli stopped beneath the broken wing of an old landing ship. It stuck out of the mud like a torn fin, rusted and half swallowed by vines. Behind it was a hole in the ground, half covered by a sheet of bent steel. He kicked the sheet aside and looked inside. It was dark, deep, and dry. "Bingo," he whispered. He slid down carefully, still holding her. The room smelled of dust, metal, and forgotten time. Old crates, scattered tools, and even a cracked bench sat in the corner. An old emergency heater blinked red, low power, but working. He set Rivka down, pulled the heater closer, and turned it on. A faint hum began, followed by the smallest breath of warm air. Rivka let out a soft sigh. "That feels nice." Eli pulled off his soaked jacket and laid it over her. "Rest. We're safe for now." Outside, thunder rolled across the sky like an angry drumbeat, but inside, for the first time in days, it felt quiet. After some time, Rivka opened her eyes. Eli sat across from her, cleaning a small cut on his arm with a shaky hand. He looked tired but alert. His shirt stuck to him from the rain. His weapon lay nearby, ready, just in case. "Are you always this stubborn?" she asked softly. "Only when someone tells me to leave a dying girl behind," he replied. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." She sat up a little. "What if I turn on you?" "You won't. How can you be so sure?" Eli looked at her, his eyes steady. "Because you're asking." Rivka didn't reply. Instead, she looked around. The bunker was old, maybe from the First War, long before she was born. Symbols scratched into the wall. Human ones. A child's drawing, faded and wet. A little girl holding hands with something that looked like a giant dog. "Did a family live here?" she asked. "Probably," Eli said. "When the city was still alive." Silence stretched between them again. Then Rivka said, "I had a sister." Eli blinked. "Yeah?" "She died in training. Too weak," they said. No one cried, not even our mother. "That's how it works in my world. Weak things are forgotten." He nodded slowly. "Then your world's broken." She looked at him. "Maybe that's why I didn't want to become like them." "Then you're stronger than they'll ever be." For the first time, Rivka smiled. Not out of politeness, but something real. "You say strange things, human." Eli shrugged. "Goes with the territory." The heater buzzed, low power flickering. Suddenly, a noise above, metal scratching against stone. Eli raised a hand, motioning her to stay still. He grabbed his rifle and crept to the side of the tunnel wall. Another sound, closer now. Something walking. Rivka held her breath. A shadow appeared at the edge of the hole. Eli took aim. A small alien beast, rat-like, with 6 legs, crawled through the gap and scurried across the room. It sniffed, then darted away through another. Eli exhaled. "Just a scavenger." Rivka released her breath. "You were ready to fight." "I'm always ready." She looked at him again, quietly this time. He wasn't just helping her. He was surviving with her. "I owe you my life," she whispered. Eli shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." "I do, and I will repay it." He didn't argue. Outside, the storm raged on. Inside, a fragile bond had begun to form. Cold, wet, and uncertain, but real. Blood and betrayal. The storm had passed, but the silence it left behind was heavier than the rain. Inside the old bunker, Eli cleaned his rifle while Rivka rested near the fading heater. Her eyes followed him. She hadn't seen a human like this before. Quiet, patient, calm, like deep water. Not like the monsters her people described. She thought of her own kind. Her squad. The commanders. The coldness in their eyes when they left her to die. Suddenly, a sharp sound, click, echoed from the surface. Eli stood fast. He held up one hand to Rivka. Stay still. Then, with silent steps, he moved to the edge of the hole they had entered through. He peeked upward. His body stiffened. 3 figures were moving through the ruins above. Not humans. Not a rescue team. Alien armor. Black and silver. Her people. And one of them had her family crest on his shoulder. Rivka's breath caught. She whispered, "It's Commander Sareth." Eli turned. "You know them?" "I was under his command. He was the one who gave the order to leave me." Eli frowned. "Think they're looking to bring you back?" She shook her head. "No. If Sareth is here, it means one thing. He wants to make sure I'm dead." "Why?" Her voice lowered. "Because I know what he did." Above ground, Sareth scanned the area with a red lens over his left eye. "I picked up heat signatures. She's near." Another soldier beside him asked, "What if she's with someone?" "Kill them both," Sareth replied coldly. "We can't risk her speaking." Below, Rivka clutched the edge of the bench, trembling. Eli crouched beside her. "What do they want to hide?" "I saw them bomb a neutral colony. Unarmed. Families. Our leaders said it was a glitch, but I saw the orders." Sareth gave the command. "You're a witness," she nodded. "I should have died in the fire," she whispered. "But I didn't. So now they've come to finish it." Eli reloaded, his rifle calm but firm. "Then we're not staying. You'll be hunted if you protect me. Already am." "No, Eli, you don't get it." She grabbed his arm. "They won't stop, not until I'm gone." Eli looked into her eyes. "Then we make sure they fail." They climbed up into the gray light. The storm clouds had moved, but the ground was still wet, reflecting twisted shadows. Eli moved first, rifle steady, eyes sharp. Rivka followed, limping but alert. Suddenly, a sound behind them. Too late. Sareth's soldiers dropped from a rooftop. One aimed, shouted something in alien language, then fired. Eli pulled Rivka down behind a broken wall, just in time. The blast hit stone. "Stay down," he shouted, returning fire. Rivka's pulse pounded. She looked at Sareth through a crack. His face was calm, like this was routine. He raised his weapon and fired again. Eli rolled across the open space and flanked them, firing quick bursts. One alien dropped. Another rushed forward, but Rivka grabbed a chunk of sharp metal and stabbed the attacker in the leg. The soldier screamed, fell back. Eli shot him clean. Sareth growled. "She's fighting alongside him. She's truly lost." Stepped forward, face twisting. "You dishonor your blood, Rivka," she shouted back. "No, I'm saving what's left of it." The fight was short, brutal. Eli and Rivka worked as a unit now. She wasn't dead weight anymore. He wasn't just her rescuer anymore. Together, they forced Sareth to retreat. Wounded, he growled and activated a beacon. "This isn't over." He vanished into the smoke. Later, in a dark warehouse, Eli pressed a cloth to Rivka's arm. She had a small burn, but she didn't complain. "Why did you fight?" he asked quietly. "You could have run." She looked at him. "Because I wasn't going to let you bleed for me alone." He gave a half smile. "You're changing." "So are you." He nodded. "Good. The secret she carries." The warehouse was silent except for their breathing. A broken skylight let in pale light from the twin moons above. Rivka sat on a crate, holding her wounded arm. Eli worked beside her, quietly patching up his shoulder with leftover gauze. Neither of them spoke for a long time, but something hung in the air, unspoken, heavy. Finally, Rivka broke the silence. "You should have left me." Eli looked up. "We've already had that talk." "I mean it this time," she said, eyes fixed on the floor. "You're not just protecting me now, Eli. You're standing between me and something much bigger." Eli leaned back, tired but calm. "Then tell me what it is." Rivka hesitated. Her hands trembled. Then, slowly, she reached under her armor and pulled out a small, round device. No bigger than a coin. The metal was dark, smooth, and glowing faintly red at the center. Eli frowned. "What is that?" "A truth chip," she said quietly. "Used only by command-level officers." He blinked. "Wait, you're a commander?" "No," she said bitterly. "But I was supposed to be one until I disobeyed." She held the chip between her fingers like it burned. "This chip holds the audio proof. I took it from Sereth's command desk before they clipped my wings, before they left me in the dirt." "What's on it?" Eli asked. "Orders to wipe out a peaceful colony. Orders signed by our Empress herself." Eli sat up straight. "That's war crime level stuff." "It was a war crime," she said. "And I was the only one who refused. That's why they marked me as defective. That's why I was left to die." Eli stood and began pacing. His mind raced. "If you show this to the right people, this could stop the war. Or at least change everything. That's what they're afraid of." He stopped and looked at her. "That's why Sereth came to kill you. Not out of anger, out of fear." Rivka nodded slowly. "I'm a walking bomb, Eli. If I explode, truth will spread." He chuckled just once. "Guess I've carried worse things." She looked at him, eyes sharp. "You still want to help me?" He didn't blink. "I want to get you to command. I know someone, a human captain stationed near the northern ridge. If we can get to her, she can send that proof across the galaxy." Rivka hesitated. "It won't be easy. They'll hunt us harder now. I'm not just a rogue soldier anymore. You're a threat to an empire," he said. "But don't worry, I like long odds." She gave a small smile. "You humans are strange. You aliens say that a lot." Hours later, they moved through dark ruins, staying low. Eli led the way, his eyes scanning every rooftop, every corner. He knew they were being watched, not by one scout, but by many. Rivka followed close behind, her movements slow but steadier now. She had burned off some of her fear, but a question sat in her heart. Why him? Why would a human, one of her enemies, risk his life again and again? For her? She finally asked, "Eli, why are you really doing this?" He didn't stop walking. "For my brother," he said quietly. She blinked. "What?" "He died last year," Eli said. "On a colony world. Killed in a cleanup operation led by your people. The official report said there were no civilians there, but I knew he was never part of any militia." He looked over his shoulder at her. "So when I saw you lying in the dirt, bleeding, abandoned by your own, I thought, maybe not all of you are like them. Maybe saving you would help me understand." Rivka's voice dropped. "I'm sorry about your brother." Eli nodded. "Me too. But maybe we can stop more brothers from dying." They paused at the edge of a large crater. Down below, an old comms tower stood, rusted but still upright. "That's where we send the proof?" Rivka asked. Eli scanned the area. "No, that's where we contact the captain. If she answers, we move to extraction. And if she doesn't?" Eli smiled, grimly. "Then we fight like hell, running through fire." The wind howled across the crater like a ghost. Eli and Rivka crouched behind a broken wall, staring down at the rusted comms tower. It stood like a lonely skeleton at the center of the rubble field, cables dangling, lights, long dead, but it still had one function. It could send a message. We get in, power the core, and transmit the truth, Eli said. Rivka nodded. Then we run. Or fight, he replied, checking the charge on his rifle. They moved fast. Every step downhill made loose rocks shift beneath their feet. The sky was orange now, morning rising through the ash clouds. But with light came danger. Eli reached the tower's door first. It creaked open slowly, revealing a narrow metal staircase that spiraled downward. Inside, the air was thick and hot. They reached the control room, dark, dusty, but intact. Rivka moved to the console. Her hands were fast, sure. I used to fix comm units as a cadet, she said. Old ones like this. Eli covered the doorway, scanning the hills. Hurry, we're out in the open here. She plugged in the truth chip. The screen flashed. Red, then green. It's working, she whispered. Signal climbing. But just then, a sharp crack echoed outside. A sniper shot. Stone exploded inches from Eli's head. Down, he yelled. Pulling Rivka away from the console, shadows moved across the ridge above them. Dozens, not just scouts. An entire execution unit. Rivka looked at the screen. Signal needs 40 more seconds. Eli tossed a smoke grenade out the door. It burst in thick white clouds. They're closing in, he shouted. She stood. Go without me. No, he growled. I'm not running. They'll kill you. Then they better be fast. He opened fire through the smoke. Clean. Shots dropping 2 enemies before ducking back. Suddenly, a sharp voice echoed through the tower. Sareth, you had one job, Rivka. Die quietly. She stepped forward, her voice shaking but firm. I did something better. I lived. Sareth laughed coldly. You don't even know what you've started. I know exactly what I've started, she said. And in 10 seconds, so will the galaxy. Eli turned back to the console. The upload bar hit 100%. Signal transmitted, Rivka whispered. Eli grabbed her hand. Time to go. But Sareth's team stormed the base. Flashbangs hit the floor. Light, sound, chaos. Rivka and Eli ran down another corridor, through maintenance, tunnels under the tower. Heat built up fast. Alarms blared. Then fire. A burning fuel line exploded behind them, setting the walls ablaze. Keep running. Eli shouted. Flames chased their heels. Smoke filled their lungs. Pipes burst. Steel cracked. Eli's boots slipped, but he pulled Rivka with him. They reached a hatch, a way out. He slammed the release. Nothing. Manual override, she yelled, punching buttons. The fire screamed behind them. The hallway turned into a furnace. The lock hissed open. They tumbled out into a rocky pit rolling in dirt and ash. Above them, fire shot into the sky from the tower, a flaming beacon. Rivka coughed, her face covered in soot. We made it. No, Eli said. He looked up. More troops were waiting, guns raised. Suddenly, a sonic boom. A dropship roared overhead. It was human. White markings, Earth emblem, twin engines glowing. From the sky, steel cables dropped, and armored soldiers rappelled. Down, Captain Wren to ground team, a voice boomed. Identify and secure the package, Eli waved. Friendly. I've got the proof and the witness. Gunfire erupted, alien troops firing at the rescue team. Eli dragged Rivka behind a rock. We're getting out of here. Rivka looked at the battlefield. Fire, smoke, soldiers clashing in the red dawn. Why does it feel like we're already home? Because, Eli said, smiling through blood and dust, you finally got to fight for something real. They stood together, back to back, firing one last time before the rescue team reached them. She took his hand back. 3 weeks later, the war had not ended, but something bigger had begun. Across hundreds of alien systems, news networks played the same message. A shaky video of a burned-out comms tower, followed by the voice of a young alien girl, her voice. My name is Rivka. I was a soldier. I was ordered to help destroy a peaceful colony. I refused, and they broke my wings for it. This chip holds the truth. The message spread like wildfire. Riots, questions, Truth. Commanders were arrested. Protests shook the Empress's palace, and Rivka. She sat on a human hospital bed, staring out a wide window that showed a peaceful Earth sky, blue and soft, a sky she could never fly in. But still she watched. Her wings would never heal. But for the first time she didn't feel broken. The door slid open. Eli walked in, no armor now, clean shirt. His arm was in a sling, but his walk was strong. He carried 2 drinks in hand. Found something close to your alien juice, he, said with a grin, handing her a bottle. She smiled. If it tastes like dirt, I'll throw it at you. He sat beside her. Fair. They sipped quietly. No guns, no fire, just peace. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Rivka said, You could have left me again. On that battlefield. Even after everything. Eli looked at her. You were never just a mission. Her eyes dropped. I don't know how to live in this world. Not as a soldier. Not as anything. You start by waking up, Eli said softly, then breathing, then choosing something small to care about. Maybe it's a flower or music or someone. She looked at him. He didn't look away. Later that day, the Human Council invited Rivka to speak. She stood in front of generals, officers, and diplomats. Her voice didn't shake. My people called me broken. Your people called me enemy. But one man didn't call me anything. He just took my hand. And because of him, I'm still here. If a human can see past fear, then maybe there's hope for us all. The room stood silent. Then applause. Loud, real, long. Weeks passed. A new treaty was drafted. The Empress was forced into hiding. War slowed, then paused. Rivka was offered asylum. Eli was honored for bravery. But more than medals or titles, something else stayed. Their bond. One quiet evening, as sunset painted the sky orange and gold, Eli stood at the edge of a garden on Earth Base 17. He looked down at his gloved hand. The one that had pulled her from ash. The one that never let go. Eli. He turned. Rivka stood there in a soft earth robe, her hair tied back, her face glowing under the sun. She walked slowly, carefully, but proudly. She reached out her hand to him. For a moment, he hesitated, not out of fear, but out of awe. Then, he smiled and took her hand. This time, she was the one staying. They told her she was done, that she was broken. But one human stayed. And now, because of him, she walks a path no one thought possible, with her head high and his hand in hers.